As is tradition, this year's InfoAg conference kicked off the week with a pre-conference field day. In the morning, folks stopped at the research facility at Bratton Consolidated, where the main attraction was the AutoProbe automated soil sampling system from a company called AgRobotics. The unit started being developed in 2002, and this year moved past the beta test phase and into production. AgRobotics is looking to partner with soil sampling service providers throughout the country and chose a pre-conference event to show off the AutoProbe in the Midwest. Jim and Jeff Burton provided the demonstration for attendees.
Basics of this, if you can't already tell, it's an on-the-go soil sampler. We've been in development with it since about 2002, solid, and in beta tests through last fall and a little bit of the spring. Sampled a little over 60,000 acres and are going to be doing a little over 200 in the Delta, and depending on who we talk to and how things go up here this week, we'll see what we're sampling in the Midwest. I'm basically going to hand it over to my father. He's the engineer, developed it, kind of the mad scientist, as I like to say, behind this technology. And
he likes to say other things.
Yeah, I like sometimes say other things, but he's going to go over the fundamentals of how it works, and then after we do that, we've got two machines. We'll run it a little ways so you can see what a sample looks like, and then we've got another one that'll run that way. So any questions or whatnot, we can take after he goes through that. So take it away.
Precision Ag came along. My vision of Precision Ag has pretty much come true, but one of the things that I thought was highly important in Precision Ag was a repeatable good soil sample for the basis of our recommendations and our agronomic practices. So I retired from farming in '96 and I started working on the soil sample. And the key to this is when this probe right here, it's running in a track. This is the entire probe, and you can only see what's sticking out right here, but it has two sets of wheels. This set right here and another set right here, and they're running in two separate tracks. This track controls the attitude of the probe, whether it's in or whether it's out or anywhere in between. This set of wheels right here, you'll notice it's hinged right here and it's bolted to this belt, so the belt's what carries this. And this set of wheels right here is running in a separate track, and it controls the tilt of the probe itself. So we're controlling those two things internally as this turns around. So if I were to roll this forward, the ground drives this, so it's not moving in relation to the ground when I'm running through it. When I get to right here, that probe is retracted. It's not sticking out any. And as I'm moving forward, and it's a little hard concept, this is stationary on the ground. When that tread's on the ground, it ain't moving, the machine's moving. So you'll have to imagine that probe that you're looking at being stationary. It goes down in the ground 6 inches, and then it comes back out of the ground. And so when it gets to the back, it's back out of the ground. And that was the whole principle that allowed me to develop this, is the fact that I can take a probe while moving 5 miles an hour. That happens in 4/10 of a second in 5 miles an hour. That whole part of that system. And then it stays retracted until it gets to here, comes up, and then it runs across a series of speed bumps. The end of this probe is 1/2 inch diameter. The inside is 3/4 of an inch diameter. So that core is essentially loose in this tube when it gets to this position. It runs across speed bumps here, and that core drops off into an auger. That auger is running from here to here and coming in this direction. And it brings the soil to the center and drops it into a cross auger that comes over here and goes through an airlock, which is like a rotating hotel door, is an airlock, except we turn ours this way and we make it about this long, about that big around. And it's turning, and it drops the soil into an airstream that's been developed by a Roots blower sitting right here. And it's blowing air at 1 psi and 87 miles an hour through this hose right here.
The soil sample travels through the tube toward the sample collection bag in the cab area. The process serves to break up the soil and create a more uniform sample, as shown here.
Auto steer on this tractor, and it's steering itself. And the auto steer unit's underneath on the front here, and the GPS antenna here. So he's not actually having to drive, and what he's doing is when he kicks that bag forward, he sticks a label on it. The label maker, because the GPS, it knows where it is, and you've got all of that programmed in the computer. So it'll spit a label out and you stick it on the bag, and because it's a tight cab, we've had to modify it a little bit, and so he reaches through this hole and puts his soil sample in this box, and we can hold 100 or so soil samples in there. Normally we're doing 2.5 acre grid sampling, but we can do smart sampling, we can do any type sampling really. It has a lot of controls on here that is computer is handling, and we have inside this box right here what we call a black box. So all the sensor information is coming in here to the black box, and it's sending it to it's interpreting and sending it to the computer, and you can read off the RPM of the blower, the RPM of the airlock, air pressure, speed. There's another sensor back here that's telling me how fast I'm going plus how far I've gone. So it's only working when this is on the ground turning, so I can keep up with, I can see how fast I'm going, number one, very accurately, because it gets a click every 3 inches on this counter back here. So it tells me how far I've gone, and it tells me the speed I'm going. There's another sensor in this airstream that's blowing the soil up to the cab, and that sensor is reading pressure. As I said, we're normally running about 1 psi. Well, if that goes to a half a psi, it says I'm getting stopped up here, and so it hits it with a high pressure 140 psi air down through that stream to clean it out.
For more information on the AutoProbe, visit www.agrobotics.com.